So my name is Jenny Bloom, and I'm an associate professor in the educational leadership program, specifically higher education. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about how to have a good conversation with somebody. I think it's a little bit of a lost art these days. But before I get into that, I want to introduce you to some folks, because I literally wouldn't be here were it not for lots of people who believe in me and inspire me. And I want to introduce you to some of them. So my husband, Steve, is over there in the audience, and so he takes really good care of me, so yay. Thank you, Steve. I have my parents over there, but then I have my grandchildren. So we have 4 grandchildren, and this is Cody and Caitlin, and they're college students in Illinois. And then Rachel and Ryan live in Michigan, but they're here tonight. Where are they? There they are. They're right over there. Cute as can be. Yay. So they inspire me so much. And so I want to talk to you about this book I read that just scared the living daylights out of me. And it was by Sherry Turkle, who is a faculty member at MIT. And it was called Reclaiming Conversation. And what she's documented in that book is that there has been a 40% decline in empathy markers amongst college students in the last 20 years, and most of that's been in the last 10 years. And she found that the use of social media increases depression and anxiety. And we spend so much time on our phones, and I tell you, there were a couple of times when I read that book that Sherry Turkle came out and slapped me across the face. It's not just young people using social media, it's me. I'm on my phone, and I know that that is not the best use of my time. And what I want to talk to you about is my work with Appreciative Advising, because Appreciative Advising is really about how do you build good, strong relationships with students. But it's really about how do you be a good person. And so the definition of appreciative advising, it's the intentional collaborative practice of asking positive, open-ended questions that help students optimize their educational experiences and achieve their dreams, goals, and potentials. But isn't that what we're trying to do with each other, right? Is to help each other make the most of this one wild life that we have. And so there are 6 phases to appreciative advising. And I'm going to give you a quick overview, but it's a theory to practice framework. It's not just about advising students, it's about building good relationships. So here we go. The first phase is the disarm phase. The disarm phase is all about realizing how scary it is to engage in conversations with other people, how scary it is to be a new college student and come to talk with an academic advisor. And so how can we make people feel welcome? I always say when I'm out speaking to faculty and professional advisors, you know, if we don't have students, we don't have jobs, right? And so I'm like really happy when I see my students. I want them to feel welcome. I want them to come back so that I continue to have a great job. The discover phase is the next phase, and it's all about getting to know somebody's story. This is a normal part of creating a new relationship with somebody, is to learn something about their story. And how do you learn? You learn by asking good questions. The next phase is the dream phase. The dream phase is what it sounds like. What are your hopes and dreams for the future? When we talk about dreams, when Dr. Hartman was talking about how do we, get connected to our purpose, our why, well, this is what our why is, our dreams for the future. Once we know what that person's dream is, then we get to help them kind of come up with a plan to make that dream a reality. And then deliver. Deliver is when the student or our friend goes out and delivers on the plan. And you know what? You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We make mistakes. That's not a bad thing. We need to just learn from our mistakes so we don't keep making the same one over and over and over. And we have to support each other in that. And the last phase is the don't settle phase. And the don't settle phase is not about lowering bars of expectation for people. It's about having high expectations of ourselves and of each other. So underlying all of this is what's called the appreciative mindset. And the appreciative mindset is this. If you're looking for the worst in people, you're going to find the worst in people. In fact, our society is really good at finding the worst in each other. We're always judging everyone. Doesn't that get old after a while? Right? But the converse is true. If we're looking for the best in people, we can find the best in people. But that takes courage. And and persistence and patience. We need to be looking for the best in people because we have it. I have it in me, you have it in you. So here we go. I want to talk about specific ways that you can live out these phases as you seek to build relationships with other people. So I want to first talk about this principle of the immediacy behavior. This comes out of the teacher education literature. And here's the principle. People are drawn towards people and things that they like. Well, duh, right? That's not exactly rocket science. And they move away from things and people that they don't like. And we need to be working together to make the world a better place. So what can we do? Well, little things like calling people by name, the right name, right? You've done it, I've done it where we accidentally called somebody by the wrong name. But I know from reading in the memory research that we do a much better job of remembering people's names if we can repeat that name early and often once we first meet somebody. Giving people feedback, asking people for feedback. You know what? It hurts when you're talking to somebody. And when I'm an advisor, if somebody pulls out their phone and starts texting somebody, I just stop talking. Like, I don't have to be a jerk about it, but I just stop talking and people are like, oh, right? You know it hurts somebody's feeling when you have your phone out. And you're paying attention to this random person instead of the person that's right there engaged with you. So we just have to be careful about that. Engaging in some small talk, talking about the weather. Oh my gosh, I'm loving the weather here. I just moved here in August. Loved my first South Florida winter. That's a normal thing. I'm not talking about 30 minutes of small talk, but just a little bit of small talk. And then letting people know what you prefer to be called. I prefer to be called Jenny. It doesn't matter. If I preferred to be called Dr. Bloom, I would tell you, oh, hi, I'm Dr. Bloom. But we need to let people know what we prefer to be called. So there's also these nonverbal immediacy behaviors. You know, if you're coming to my office and I'm like, yeah, come on in. Right? That's not much of a welcome, right? Like, come on in. Again, no students, no job. I'm like really happy to see you. Vocal variety. I love talking about this. It comes through my voice. But when I'm talking with you individually, it'll come through my voice too. We pay a lot of attention to kind of that range and that excitement. We need to bring energy to our conversations. Putting our own phone away, right? I always say, you know, when I have my phone on and it's on vibrate, you can hear it. So if I'm talking with you and all of a sudden my phone vibrates, you want to say, oh no, do you need to take that? No, I don't need to take that. I'm here. My most important thing is being with the person that's in front of me. I need to be present. And then smiling. You know, it takes less muscles to smile than it does to frown. Yay, I'm happy to be here. We need to show that to everybody. It's contagious, as the other speaker spoke about. And then eye contact. You know, really looking at people, engaging people through the eyes, because oftentimes we're having to sell things, and part of the way that you sell getting help, maybe, you know, I believe in you and what you're doing, is through actually looking at them in the eye. And then as you're listening to somebody, you know, just basic counseling behaviors, like I'm actually listening to what you're saying. I'm not just going through the motions of what we're doing. So that's the disarm phase. It only takes like 30 seconds, a minute, but we just need to be more present in our lives. We talk about the here and now. Let's be here and now. So the discover phase, I'm going to go back here. I love this definition from the dictionary. It says to identify a person as a potentially prominent performer. To identify a person as a potentially prominent performer. So I'm a professor. Before I was a professor, I was Dean of Students of a medical school, University of Illinois College of Medicine in Urbana-Champaign. What was my undergraduate degree in? I was a physical education teaching major. I have a K through 12 teaching certificate. I decided when I was doing my student teaching, oh, darn it, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And had I not had next door neighbors growing up in Champaign, Illinois, who heard that I no longer wanted to be a PE teacher, and they made an appointment to see me, and they said, Jenny, we think you should come get your master's degree. I had no idea what a master's degree was, first of all. And second, we want you to come work for Bob. And I got to work in the transition program at the University of Illinois, which was for underrepresented students that were admitted with low ACT scores in high school ranks. And I can tell you, the very first day I met with a student, I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And it is. It's what I've done ever since then. But the greatest gift that has ever been given to me is when people have seen potential in me at times when I thought I had no potential, right? I can't pay them back, but I can pay it forward. And that's what I view my job and my life is to pay forward that great gift that people have given me consistently throughout my life. So, discover phase. We're going to ask questions of people, but it's not just the questions. It's not like, if I say, well, tell me about a time that you had a positive impact on somebody else's life. Go ahead. Right? You're not going to answer. So you have to be, number one, you have to be authentic. Like, you have to really want to know somebody's story, right? You can tell a difference between somebody who's kind of going through the motions of listening and somebody who authentically wants to hear what you have to say. You also have to be open to be inspired by people. The thing I love about teaching is that I get to learn. I get paid to learn all the time from my students. Like, I believe that I can learn from everybody. And if I don't learn something from somebody, that's my issue. That's not their issue. I haven't been asking good questions. Enjoying the silence. So this is all about when you're asking the kinds of questions I'm going to introduce you to. People aren't used to being asked these kinds of questions, so they're trying to kind of, think through the answer a little bit, make sure that you're real in terms of wanting to hear. So you've got to give people a little bit of time and not just answer your own question. Also, sharing your own story as appropriate. And not for 30 minutes. This isn't about you, right? But if you're dealing with somebody who's going through a hard time, maybe somebody who's dealing with anxiety, and you've struggled with anxiety, it takes so much courage to come up here and talk and share about your story. It meant a lot to me that our earlier speaker was courageous in doing that. It makes a difference. It changes people's lives. So by sharing your own story, you can really help to let people know that you're not alone, because it does feel lonely when you're struggling with things. And then what I love about this approach is that it does celebrate diversity. We're all different. Like, each of us has our own unique story. The questions I'm going to tell you about, they allow you to get at people's unique story. So these are some of the kinds of questions that you can ask. Tell me about a time that you had a positive impact on somebody else's life. You can learn a lot about somebody in a very short amount of time if you're asking good, positive, open-ended questions that allow people to share their story. Describe a life event that's made you into the person you are today. We've heard a number of those tonight. It's super inspirational to hear those. All right, once we've gotten to know people's story just a little bit, it's really cool when you ask them about what their hopes and dreams are for the future. You have hopes and dreams. I have hopes and dreams. We need to ask each other about those dreams. So there's some questions like this, like if salary, education, and time were irrelevant, if you could be anything that you wanted to be, what would that be? Or when you were 8 years old and your uncle asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? How did you answer? People kind of laugh, right? Oh, I wanted to be an astronaut or fireman, whatever that was. And then how do you answer that question now? And if you keep getting, I don't know, you can ask the magazine question. The magazine question is, it's 5-10 years from now, you're on the cover of a magazine. What magazine is it? And why are you on the cover? You can learn a lot about somebody from that answer. Once we know what the person's dream is, then we can help them. Isn't that the great thing about being around really smart people? I learn from my students. They help me come up with plans for what I'm doing, and I get to contribute to their plans. So the key here is the co-creation. Bandura talked a lot about this in the 1960s, that if I'm telling you as the advisor what you need to do and you don't have any say in that plan, you're much less likely to actually follow through on that plan. I want to work together with you. You have expertise. You know things about yourself I don't know about you. Same thing with our friends. So one thing that we have to be careful about when we're talking about something that we know a lot about is what Chip and Dan Heath call the curse of knowledge. This is when you know something so well that you forget mere mortal people have no clue what you're talking about, right? Acronyms on this campus, right? Locations on this campus. We just say, oh yeah, it's just that building right over there. I have no clue where we're at right now. I don't know where that building is. You know, we need to help each other. It's not easy to be on college campuses and to be new. I'm new. I just started here in August. I've spent most of the last 8 months being lost, trying to find buildings, right? And so we need to help each other. Referrals. You know, we don't have to know all the answers. I don't know all the answers, but I know where to go for help. And I know the people who are going to know the answers, and then I can help refer my students to those resources. But we need to be knowledgeable about the resources that are available on our campus, like the counseling center, you know, like financial aid, and be willing to help students find their way to those offices for help. So design questions, you know, what can you do in the next week to get one baby step closer to your dream becoming a reality? Let's brainstorm on the resources you're going to need to accomplish this dream. So once we've kind of come up with that plan with the person, then the deliver phase is all about going out and delivering on the plan. So what's important here is that we realize that the plan never goes how it's supposed to go, right? There's always going to be obstacles that come up, barriers that we can never anticipate ahead of time. But what we need to do is we need to be there for each other. Life is really hard. There are just bad things happening to really good people every single day. Illnesses, deaths, all kinds of struggles that we have as just being human beings. And so we need to let people know that we're there for them. I'm talking about caring out loud a lot. Caring out loud, like I love my students. I really care about them. I would do anything for them, but I have to tell them that I care about them. And probably even as important or more important is I have to demonstrate that I care. We need to demonstrate and tell our friends that I care about you. I'm here for you. Even on those dark days, I'm going to be here for you. Why this encouragement piece is so crucial. Noel Tichy's at Michigan, and he says, simply put, a leader's job is to energize others. Notice I don't say it's part of your job, it is your job. There is no time off when a leader isn't responsible for energizing other people. Every interaction we have with somebody is either going to positively energize them or it's going to negatively energize or drain them. Friends, there are way too many people in the negative energy business. They don't need any more people on that side. Their side's full. We need more people in the positive energy business that believe in other people, that are willing to help each other. So, you know, kind of towards the end of a conversation in an advising situation, but also when we're meeting one-on-one with somebody, we remember first impressions and we remember last impressions in all of our interactions with other human beings. So, you know, I really enjoy talking with you. This has really been a lot of fun hearing your story and what you're trying to accomplish, and I'm here for you. You know, escorting people out, or at least being intentional about making that goodbye a positive one, is an important thing. But deliver phase questions, how and when are you going to keep me updated on your progress? Because I care. I want to know how it goes when you go over to the financial aid office. What are you going to do if you run into roadblocks? Come back, come see me. That's why I'm here. We're friends. This is what this is about. I'll be there for you. You're going to be there for me. And then the last phase is the don't settle phase. My friend John Wright says that our job as leaders is to help people become better than what they think that they can become. I would have never, ever guessed that I would be a college professor or the dean of students, right? Like, that's just crazy in my mind. But, you know, again, people saw potential in me and they had high expectations of me, and I I heard the call, and they're like, gosh, if they think I can do this, I can. Maybe I can. So if you look up settle in the dictionary, you're going to see this: to move downward, sink, or descend, especially gradually. Right? This is what happens to a lot of students. They miss one class because of something legitimate, like they're sick, or grandma dies, or something happens, and then they miss the next class, and then they're like, oh, dang, I've got a quiz. I'm not ready. I'll study now. And what happens is sometimes they just never go back to class. You know, we've got to stop this. We've got to be there for each other. We've got to say, it's time for you to go back to class, right? You can do this. You need to get back in this habit. Really, what we're talking about is raising the bar of expectations. Jim Collins, in his book, Good to Great, it's been on the bestseller list for a long time now. And he starts it out with this sentence. He says, good is the enemy of great. He says, we don't have great schools principally because we have good schools. Few people attain great lives in large part because it's so darn easy to settle for a good life. What we really want to do is what George Koo at Indiana University talks about, and that's having positive restlessness. You're doing good stuff, I'm doing good stuff, and I can get better. You can get better. We can get better. We have to get better. Right? That's what makes life worth living, is that we can and we will get better every day. So these are kind of don't settle questions that you can use kind of as follow-up questions the next time you see somebody. You know, you've done great so far, but what's one thing that you can do even better? What happens if I challenged you to become the best that you could become? What would you need to do differently? And if you were going to raise your own internal bar of expectations, what would that look like? So, these are the 6 phases of appreciative advising, but it's really about the 6 phases of building good, strong, healthy relationships with other people. Disarm, discover, dream, design, deliver, and don't settle. And I'm going to end with this quote from Nancy Twiss, who was a scholarship advisor at Kansas State. And she said, most of us will not find answers to the causes of cancer or solve the problems of homelessness or diffuse international conflicts. But we feel that through our advising, through our interactions with other people, that we may be able to make a small but pivotal contribution to our students' ultimate work. It seems to me that our students represent an unequivocal reply to Margaret Mead when she famously said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. I'm looking out on a small group of thoughtful, committed people, and I believe in your power to make this world a better place. Thank you.